So this session is Grief and Embracing Mortality, the Serene Encounter of Reality. So we thought that we could begin with an invocation from my hometown of Siena in Tuscany. The town of Siena in Tuscany is devoted to the Virgin Mary. She's a Shakti, truly, right? She's a feminine Shakti. Of course, because of the cultural specificity, we call her Virgin Mary. But she appears to be dark in skin and to hold a child. Now, holding of the child for a mother is continuing the heritage, cultural heritage, and continuing life. We do have a chant for her, an Ave Maria, that invokes courage in the face of grief and mortality. And we chant it in our hometown for various festivities and celebrations. And I would like to share it with you. I'll chant it once. I'll tell you what it means. It's in Latin. It's about 1,000 years old, the invocation. It's Gregorian chant, it's called. And it's very reminiscent and definitely resonant with some of the Vedic chanting that I'm learning through the Parampara. So a few notes only, not too many notes. And the text, the lyrics are Maria Mater, so you could try to repeat just Maria Mater, which means mother. Mater from Sanskrit matrika. So you will find a lot of assonance. Maria Mater, Maria Mater. Salve, which means pranams. Mater misericordiae, Mater misericordiae, Mother of mercy, compassion. Tu nos ab hoste, tu nos ab hoste protege. Protege. Protect us from obstacles. Et mortis, from mrt, from mrt, morte, and mortis ora suscipe, et mortis ora suscipe, which means protect us from grief and give us strength when we meet mortality, which means meeting mortality in our own life, in the ones we love, but also when something traumatic happens, a part of us dies. So for any transformation, protect us, give us compassion towards this predicament of mortality for us humans. And then he goes into Jesu tibi sit, Jesu tibi sit, may the youthful energy of Christ, the youthful energy of Krishna, Christ, similar. Many similarities are there, historically also. Jesu tibi sit, Gloria, glory to you. So I'll chant it, and then maybe we can try to chant it once together, just for the fun of it and the pleasure of it. But when we invoke it, whether you want to chant it with me later or not, we are connecting in this session with the capacity that voice and mantra and chants and the rosary prayers have around the world. There's research on it, on how they, because of the longer exhalation in relationship to a shorter inhalation, calm the nervous system, making pain more manageable. So chanting, invoking mantras, praying all around the world, scientifically proven, not that it's needed, we know it works anyway, but scientifically is also proven that these help us cope, manage, and feel a sense of communal support. Just like the kirtans and the bhajans, these chants were sang by the community in the church, not just by one priest. So I'll sing once, you can hear it, and then we'll try. If you don't comfortable singing, you can just listen and connect to the feeling. That's fine. Amen. Maria Mater, Maria Mater, gratiae, gratiae, Mater misericordiae, Mater misericordiae, tu nos aboste protege, tu nos aboste protege, et mortis ora suscipe, et mortis ora suscipe, Iesus tibisit, Iesus tibisit, Gloria, Gloria, qui natus est virginem, qui natus est virginem, cum Pater et Almo Spiritu, cum Pater et Almo Spiritu, in sempiterna saecula, in sempiterna saecula. Amen. Amen. Om. Thank you for joining.
There's a very beautiful video that Sangeeta made some years ago at one of the holy shrines. Was it in Rome or I don't remember?
It was near Siena where I live, yeah.
Where she sings this and the echo of the whole
The basilica.
basilica is just so beautiful.
That's true.
Very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
It must be there on YouTube someplace, I remember.
Thank you, sir. Yes, yes.
In this session we are looking at grief, mortality, and so we want to make sure it's not too dead serious. Because as we said yesterday, to be dead serious is seriously dead. So we have to be very careful of that. At the same time, we know everyone who's born has to leave the body someday or the other, some moment or the other. Yet when it happens to us, we are never prepared enough. So we know it, but we are never prepared enough. In the Mahabharata, the Yaksha Prasna is there. And the Yaksha is giving this Vaiva Bose. He's conducting public Vaiva of Yudhishthira. Dharma. And there's a point where he says, what is the most astounding, surprising thing? That is the question. What is the most astounding, surprising thing? And Yudhishthira answers, man sees death everywhere, but thinks he will never die. We know it. That is why in our culture we celebrated death also. You come down to South India and you don't know whether it's a wedding or a death because they celebrated similarly. Amazing celebration. All firecrackers will be going off, music will be there, dancing in the road will be there. More dancing is done in South Indian death funeral processions than in wedding processions. And like the Bharat in the north, we have the opposite there. Again, in Indian culture, death is out in the open. In the Western civilized world, they hide death. When people die, you want them, it's hidden away. Nobody wants to see it, nobody wants to feel it. And you want the person to be all decked up so that they look as good as they can, so that you don't even think they are dead. In our culture, we accept it. And I think that has been a greatness of our culture, that we have understood, yes, all beings who are born have to die. Yet, we wish it were not us. We wish it is not our loved ones. And I think the biggest tragedy is when unnatural death happens, sudden death happens, and not in the proper sequence. There is a old story of a sage going to a king, and he was very happy with the king. The king had done very good care. He stayed for some days, was treated nicely, everything was good. As he was leaving, he blessed the king. He blessed the king, saying, "May the grandfather die, may the father die, may the son die, may the grandson die." Tadastu, and he went. And the king's like, "What is this? This is not a blessing, it sounds like a curse." And our wish is, you are always worried about them saying something, because especially people like Durvasa, Gaya, Khatam ho gaya. Huh? We have so many saw that problem with him. Shakuntala is a good example. So he was very perplexed. Why this sage has done this? I've treated him so well. So he asked his minister. In those days they had wise ministers. They asked the minister, what does this mean? And he said, actually it is a blessing. What the sage has said is, may the natural sequence be maintained in your kingdom. The natural sequence is the grandfather will be the first to die, the father will be the second to die, the son will be the third, the grandson will be the fourth. This is the natural sequence that he is saying, may the natural sequence of events unfold in your kingdom. What a beautiful teaching. Today, we are in a world where so many grandparents are outliving their great-grandchildren. So no wonder grief is so strong. Because, as a parent, how many here are parents? Quite a few. Huh? Okay. Now, I started with parent. As a parent, the worst thing that can ever happen is that something goes wrong to your child. You have a fever, doesn't matter. You break a limb, it doesn't matter. When it happens to your child, and as a grandparent, when it happens to your grandchild, that cross-generational relationship of grandkids and grandparents is something which is phenomenal. If today both my son and daughter are amazing human beings, it is because of my mother. She enabled them to grow into that. My contribution is very minimalistic. Amazing. But what happens is that when people leave the body, especially when it is sudden, if somebody has not been well for a couple of years and then leaves the body, at least you were sort of in the back of your mind expecting it, you had sort of prepared for it. So when it happens, at least there is some semblance of manageability. When we talk of salatogenesis, there are three components. The first is that I can comprehend what is happening. That is the comprehend ability to comprehend, comprehensibility, and understanding. The second is I can manage it. I know what to do about it. So I can understand what is happening in my life. I can manage it. And the third, my life has purpose, meaning. We are all seeking meaning in life. Salatogenesis has something called the sense of coherence, where everything is coherent, it makes sense. Those things when people are talking to you and point A and point B are linked, they are speaking coherently. I went to Delhi. Today in Mumbai it is raining. In New York there is a cyclone. No, in Australia they are playing cricket. England and India are playing cricket. Incoherent. And many people, incoherent rambling is a big issue. Incoherence is when you don't understand. You don't understand it, you don't know what to do about it, and it has no meaning. And that is what hits us. That suddenly something happens. Why this has happened, I cannot understand. I don't know what to do about it. You know, when people are given diagnoses that are life-threatening, not like our cinematic, dramatic elements, that doesn't really happen in too many hospitals where you only have 5 hours to live. This is all cinematic license, okay? But you come to know, you know that you have been diagnosed with a condition that has at best 6 months to 12 months of life left. You are struggling. The people around you are struggling. People who love you are struggling. And the grief that comes out of such situations is real. Grief is real. It is not just in your head. Grief leads to what is called today a broken heart syndrome. And broken heart syndrome is where people have what looks like a heart attack, but there's nothing wrong with the heart. The heart is normal. Coronary arteries are not blocked. Everything is normal, but they have died of what appears to be a heart attack because it is a broken heart syndrome because of loss, because of grief. And that is why grief is not just, when somebody is grieving, we often say, get over it. That is the worst thing you can ever say. Get on with your life. It's been 6 months. Why are you still holding on? That is the worst thing you can ever say. Never ever be so insensitive to say that to anybody. Grief can go on for years and years and years. So never, never, never say it's in the head. It is an embodied experience. The whole body feels that trauma. And today we have something called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. When I was studying medicine in the 90s, it was not in the textbook at all. We didn't have that condition even diagnosed, let alone described, let alone therapy for it. Today it is the most common diagnosis in Western world, and in India is becoming also very, very common. Where there is a trauma that could be physical, mental, emotional, sociological, add financial to it. That trauma has traumatized you so much that a stress disorder is produced. Your whole system breaks down with the stress. Stress is catabolic. Stress breaks you down. Very difficult. But you know what? Nowadays psychologists are talking about something else. It's called post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic stress disorder is the stress disorder, the breakdown that is happening because of that trauma. Post-traumatic growth is the growth that happens in you as a human being because of that same trauma. The trauma is the same. How you respond to the trauma determines whether you go down a pathological, pathogenic, disease, disability, death, or you go upon the salutogenic growth and flourishing, abundance. How do you perceive it? The same event, the same loss, the same trauma. How do you perceive it? And that is where yoga comes in. Yoga is not just about changing the way your body is. It changes the way you perceive life. That is why it is called Yoga Drishti. The Yoga Drishti perceives life from a very different angle by saying If this has happened, how can I understand it better? How can I manage it better? And how can I find purpose and meaning in what has happened? Whenever I'm dealing with people who lose their parents, one of the first things I talk to them as a heart-to-heart conversation, maybe in person, maybe over the phone, maybe through a WhatsApp message, because I deal with thousands of people across the planet on a regular basis. I'm privileged to know the lives of thousands of people very intimately, and I value that sharing they give me. But the first thing I tell them is, I remember the day my father left the body. I had just joined medical school. I got the information, traveled in the second class train without reservation. There was no place to sit. You know, in our second class trains, there's a place where they put all the plates. One cupboard will be there. I sat in that and traveled back from Nagpur to Chennai. Went to Apollo in the intensive care, saw my father there. My mother asked him, "Do you know who has come?" And he got mad that she even bothered to ask him that question. And she was not sure how conscious he was, and she asked that question, and he really like, huh? Next day he was not there, physically. But you know what? Today, my father is more with me than he was when he was in the physical body. And this is a realization I've had, that as long as you are in the physical body, you are limited to one place at one time. So if I was in Nagpur studying medicine, he was in Pondicherry. He couldn't be in Nagpur at the same time. But the moment he left the body, that's why we say you have left the body. We don't say he left his soul. Do we say that? We say left the body. The Atma is imperishable. The Bhagavad Gita tells us it cannot be touched, it cannot be tainted, it cannot be burnt, it cannot be wetted. It is beyond all of that. And that eternal Atma that exists is now in a form that can be accessed. And in that moment when I had that realization, I realized that all I had to do was live his teachings. We say the Guru lives in their teachings. And that is why when you practice those teachings, the Guru lives through you. When you share those teachings, the Guru lives through you. And this is where you start to find an understanding. Why? The first question I had was, he promised my mother, I will live to be 130. I heard the 130 the other day also. My mother used to get very upset about that. She said, he promised me 130. It's very difficult. But that woman kept the tradition going while I was in medical school, brought it to a level that today I can take it into a new dimension because of her impact. Not easy. But the question comes, he said that, why did he have to leave the body? Why? Many people die, why he had to die? You know, we ask this question. Many people die, why me? Why me is a very common one. Well, we don't have enough information through the Right to Information Act with the universe to access why things happen. That is the biggest problem. Because we don't have the information, we will never know the actual reason. But what we can start to do is start to understand, and I started to understand, as long as the big tree exists, the plants around it cannot grow. This is nature. As long as the big tree is there, the plants around it cannot grow. It is only when the big tree moves on that the smaller plants can grow and they can start to manifest their potential. You start to find purpose. You start to find meaning. You start to find resources that can enable you to manage that situation. You are learning through that situation. It becomes a lived experience that then enables the wisdom from inside to manifest, which is post-traumatic growth, where the wisdom manifests. But for that to happen, there has to be a change in attitude from one of, I am the victim of circumstances. I am the victim of circumstances is a deficiency mindset. We have to move to an abundant mindset that I am a master of my destiny. I am a master of my destiny by the choices I make in the present moment. How am I going to approach this loss? How am I going to approach it in a way that will honor that person? You're not forgetting the person. Please understand. This is why this common statement, get over it, forget it, is total, utterly, butterly nonsense.
Time is the healer. That's the word.
I'm like, so insensitive we have become to the pain of others. In Tamil we say, namakku rattam, namakkunna vande takali. It's tomato sauce. If it's the other person, it's blood if it is you. If you have a problem, it's blood. If it's for the other person, it's just tomato sauce. And we have become so insensitive. Please understand, it is a lived experience. Grief is a lived experience. Goes into every cell. And until and unless you realize what that experience has enabled you to live, you will not be able to manifest it. Honor the person. Honor their memory. And I'm not talking of building a samadhi and putting the photo and putting mala. That's okay. That is a ritualistic honoring, which we all do. And that's why many people I know in many homes, they say, I have no respect at all. Only when I die, they'll put my photo and put the mala and do respect to me. And they'll do that annual tithi and all will be done. While the person is alive, there's no respect. Then when they die, they're put up there. Many people I know speak that. Many elderly people have confided in me that, and then I have to talk to their family. I try to help people understand. Value the person when they are alive. And after they have left the body, value their memory. What does a human being want? Well, food, okay. Sleep, okay. Sex, okay. Water, okay. What do all living beings have? Fear, okay. All those four are common to all living beings. Ahara, Nidra, and the Bhaya and Maithuna is common to all living beings. Why is a human being special? Because you have the power of choice. You can choose to say, this has happened. Instead of saying, I don't know what to do, you say, what is it I can do? My mother used to make a beautiful song. She said, animals are bound by conditioning. Now we love animals. I have grown up like Tarzan of the apes, Ananda of the apes, Ananda of the monkeys, not apes. So I had monkeys in our ashram, deer. I grew up with animals, and that's why I love them. So when I say animal, I'm not demeaning them. An animal is an animal, and that is what they are doing. A cat is a cat. Cat is being the best cat they can be. A dog is being the best dog they can be. Are we humans being the best human we can be? A big question mark. Today we have Viparyaya is, false knowledge. Delusional false knowledge. I say the biggest, they used to say, you see a rope and you think it is a snake. This is the example of Viparyaya in all the Yoga Sutra commentaries. To see human beings and think they are human is the biggest Viparyaya today. They look human, but they are not human. That is the pathetic situation. Animals are bound by conditioning. They have reflexes. They don't have self-reflection. We humans have self-reflection, hence we can respond rather than react. There's a big difference. React is, you hit me, I kick you. You hit me, I kick you. Knee-jerk reflex. This is reflex. Response is, you have hit me, but why have you hit me? What was the context of you hitting me? What is the right thing for me to do in response to that? That is response. For that, the impulse has to travel up your spinal cord, travel up to your brain, up to your prefrontal cortex, and you have to decide what to do. It's a long journey. That's why they say, take a deep breath and count to 10. Because suddenly what happens? Instead of reflex, you are at response. Move from reflex to response. From reaction to response. From instinct to intuition. This is the transformation. Animals are bound by conditioning. What is the animal saying? I can't, I won't, I'm not able. You try pulling a dog on a leash. If you have a dog. Try herding a cat. They say herding cats. Sometimes with my students I feel like that. बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. Each cat will go in its own direction. Some will not go any place. There was a conversation between a dog and a cat. So the dog said, the human being feeds me, the human must be God. The cat said, the human being feeds me, I must be God. Big difference. You try moving a cat from its place. You try getting a dog on the leash to follow you in the park when you go for your morning walk, especially if there's another dog in the other direction and if it is in season. Gaya. You are running after the dog is not coming with you. Animals are bound by conditioning. So, I can't, I won't, I'm not able, says the animal. I can, I will, I'm able, says the human being. There's a big difference. I can, I will, I am able, says the human being. And when you become human, the impossible becomes I am possible. As long as you are bound in that subhuman, I will replace animal with subhuman. As long as you are bound in subhuman conditioning, it seems impossible. But the moment you move from the subhuman to the human, it becomes I am possible. Because you are moving from subhuman to humane, but ultimately yoga says the goal is manifest your inherent divinity. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. That is what you want to grow. So every challenge which is a loss becomes a stepping stone for you to fully embrace the experience of being human. It is not pleasant, but is it good? It is good. Nachiketa is told by Yama, there is the Shreya Marga, Preya Marga. The Shreyas is the path you want to choose. Robert Frost has the two roads diverging in the woods. And the path less often taken is the one he took. And at the end of your life, you feel satisfied you did the right thing. Do it because it's the right thing, or rather the appropriate thing, the apt thing. Impossible becomes I am possible. Impossible becomes I am possible. When we stop being animals and truly become human beings. Impossible becomes I am possible. When we stop being animals and truly become human beings. I can't, I won't, I am not able, says the animal. I can't, I won't, I am not able, says the animal. I can, I will, I am able, says the human being. I can, I will, I am able, says the human being. Impossible becomes I am possible. Animals are bound by their conditioning. Animals are bound by their conditioning. But as a human, we have the power of choice. As a human, we have the power of choice. Impossible becomes I am possible. That is how my mother would teach all of the kids these concepts of yoga and make them an embodied experience. Grief is real. Trauma is real. Don't demean it, and don't demean the experience the person is having. Because every person wants to feel loved. Every person wants to feel respected. Every person wants to feel valued. And the moment you trivialize the experience, you are saying you don't matter. It should be person-centric. I always talk about that. The most important person in a medical hospital should be the patient. The most important part in a person in an educational institution should be the student. You look at what happens in healthcare institutions. I was telling sir the other day, a friend of mine said healthcare has become health scare. Healthcare has become health scare. I say, where is the health in healthcare and where is the care in healthcare? We have become careless and helpless. And this is why, to bring back what we call the humanistic approach to medicine. Humanistic approach of medicine where it is person-centric. The individual is respected as an individual and given all the support they need to move from where they are in dukkha to where they need to be in sukha. The journey from dukkha to sukha. It is the journey of pathogenesis to salatogenesis. From suffering to ease. And that is why our Vedas have given us the mantra Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amrutangamaya. I say pathogenesis, salatogenesis, gamaya. That is the new one I say. Illness to wellness, gamaya. That is the journey. And for that, a very important aspect that is needed is release. And we are going to suggest the Spanda Nishpanda. It is a very beautiful tool where what is happening when we have grief? What is happening when we have trauma? We are holding on. There's a lot of tightness. There's a lot of tightness. So what are we going to do? We are going to mimic that tightness. And then what are we going to do? Consciously let go of the tightness. See, the greatness of the rishis is they were master simulators. This morning I felt like doing a practice, so I went outside the room onto the veranda and did my kukuriya pranayama for Instagram. I have to keep my Instagram followers happy with something fodder for thought. So usually I do my standing on my hand or my head wherever I go so that they know that keep your practice going come what may. Today I said, it's raining outside and all, then I said, no, we'll do that. What you need to do is that every moment, what can I do that moment? Simple practices. And what I said this morning was, just because it looks simple doesn't mean it is not effective. And to be effective, it doesn't have to be complicated. That is why they had a statement KISS, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Okay, and see, that's a nicer, thank you. I only heard the keep it simple, stupid. Einstein said that if you cannot explain it to, a young toddler, a small child, you don't know it. I find people go round and round and round and I'm like, seriously, what are you trying to say? Make it digestible. Make it simplistic, but don't lose the essence. That is the difficulty part. So, tightness, what do the yogis do? They simulate the experience. Today we have medical simulation labs where you can simulate the experience, flight simulators, zero gravity simulators. Simulation is big market today in healthcare because we don't want people to work on actual patients anymore. When I was a medical student, we will go and 10 hours will examine that same patient until they get so angry they'll hit one of us. My pediatric exam, we had the pediatric professor from AIMS came as our external. It was the last 7 days of practical. I tell you, MBBS kills you, seriously, I tell you. That we had 7 in the old syllabus, 7 days of practical continuously. The last 7th day of not sleeping, because what will happen? They will always do this attendance order. They think they're very intelligent, okay? What they'll do is attendance order, they'll say in the morning we'll do from A to Z, and in the afternoon we'll do Z to A. So being Ananda, I am the first person in the morning and last person in the evening. You understand? 7 days of traumatic torture called Viva. You can pass your theory exams. Practical is the toughest part of MBBS, I'll tell you. More people fail in practical than theory because it is the toughest one. Last one is pediatrics, and I go into the ward. My full case is this young, small newborn baby. The father is sitting there. And I go in and he says, "Don't touch my baby." For 3 days, you guys have come and compressed the abdomen of my baby and, done so much of torture. He said, "Don't touch my baby." I'm like, "Baba, 50 marks of my practical is based on your..." Huh? I said, "Don't worry, I will not touch your baby." So he was relieved. I said, "I won't touch." I said, "Just I'll ask some things, you tell me." We started talking. Broken Marathi, broken Hindi and all. I had a paper list of words that... After 20 minutes, 25 minutes of us, he said, "If you want to touch, you can touch." I got the highest mark in that pediatrics Viva because of that. What was the difference? Instead of saying, "This guy is not letting me look at his baby, I cannot do the exam, I'm going to fail because of you," call my professor and say, "Give me another case." I said, "What can I do about it? It is not a conducive situation, what can I do?" I change my approach to what is there, make it more conducive, relate to the human being in front of you, and everything changes for the better. When we have this stress, there's so much of adrenaline. Then what happens? Chronic stress is cortisol. And this cortisol will dampen every function in your body. Every cell will go dysfunctional. It doesn't matter, they call it immune dysregulation. All those are technical terms. Just remember, every cell becomes dysfunctional because of cortisol. Cortisol is chronic stress, C for C. It's like yesterday we talked of serotonin. Serotonin is S. When does serotonin come out? When the sun is there. Sun is S, serotonin is S. What is melatonin? Moon at night. Melatonin at night, serotonin in day. That's how you remember it. And you'll never forget it. I still remember everything I learned in medical school because you keep on associating it with something. Make it fun, make it connected. Link it to something which you already know. In simulation, you want to have the experience without having to go through it, okay? Yogi said, "I want to know what a tree feels like." So what do? Vrikshasana. I want to know what a fish feels like. Matsyasana. I want to know what it is to be a bridge on which people walk. Setubandhasana. I want to know what is the stability a mountain has. Parvatasana. And I want to know what it feels like to be dead. Shavasana. You can experience death without having to die for it. That is Shavasana. It is not just lying down to relax. It is a simulation, death simulator. Shavasana is the death simulator. When you lie down in Shavasana and let go of everything, you are experiencing the ultimate renunciative state. And then when you come out of it, you come back to the world. Carry that experience into your day-to-day life. So Shavasana is not just to bring your blood pressure down. It will bring your blood pressure down, 100%. 10 minutes of Shavasana, your blood pressure will go down. 10 minutes of Shavasana, we have shown cold pressure test, which is a stress test. The response changes. You have a much more attenuated stress response because of a Shavasana training. Yes. But what is more important? You have simulated the experience. And this is why when we do these practices, Spanda Dishpanda, what we are going to do is tense from the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips, the abdomen, the back, the fingers and face, and you're going to tense as much as possible. Tense, and then you're going to go, and you're going to let go. What are you doing? You are going to the peak of stress, and then you're making a choice to let go. And in that relaxation, healing manifests. Okay, so this is the practice we are going to do, and over to you, Sangeeta.
Yes, sir.
I promised you entertainment, okay? So you'll always be entertained.
I want to just take a minute. If you antagonize me,
Yes.
I get agitated. How to get counter it?
Forget you and me are different. There's no you, there's no me. There's us. Antagonism only comes when we see separation. Once Ramana was asked, Ramana, how to deal with others? Ramana said there are no others. So antagonism comes from a sense of separation, that you are different than me. So the threat perception, start to look at the commonality with that person. And the more you look at the commonality, the more understanding you become of that person's perspective. And when you become understanding, your stress goes down. So instead of saying that nobody understands me, can you become more understanding? I think that is the journey of life. Thank you, sir, for that question.
Sir, I have a question.
I love when you smile. Yes.
So we all know that we will die.
Yeah.
And it's unknown. And we will not wake up tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.
I was asleep, but I'm okay with that.
Huh.
But when I know that I have a limited period to die, like 6 months or 3 months, I have chronic, third, fourth
Yeah.
stage cancer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I get very agitated.
True.
So is it knowing that causes the agitation? Otherwise you live unknowingly in bliss. You never know when it'll come, So was it all designed so that you never know when you'll go?
Yeah.
And therefore the most difficult thing is to know that you're going and to be able to go peacefully. To be able to, in a way, isn't it a blessing that you can say your goodbyes,
Yeah.
you can wind up your affairs, But it causes so much of distress, especially cancer patients
Yeah.
and others.
Yeah.
So how does one, help people to cope
Yeah.
with knowing that the end is near, but
Yeah.
to be able to walk into that sunset,
Yeah.
gracefully, as
Yeah.
you said.
I think, you have asked both the question and given the answer already. You have actually done both. I thank you for that, because, though in Tamil we say if somebody dies in their sleep, we say nalla savu, that without pain and suffering that the person left, it's a good death. That is actually how we reassure people. At the same time, knowing that you have a limited time gets people a bit worried, because, we always think I'm not going to die, so I can do it tomorrow. Okay, this is the thing. We are conditioned that, okay, next week I'm going to meet you, so what should I worry about? You may not be the next week, or the other person may not be the next week. We don't even contemplate it. But the moment you say, next week you may not exist, you better get it done this week, we are like, oh my God, I have a deadline. And all deadlines stress you out. This is where, as you said there, choosing the attitude towards it and saying, I have now time to know that, yes, I can say goodbye. I can make sure people have all my bank passwords. Very important, okay? Bank passwords, that is the thing that worries me the most. Because nobody in my family knows my bank passwords or my social media passwords. Social media is more important, so bank you can go and get it in writing. Huh? See, we are so worried about that. Now, instead of that, to say that, okay, I know I have 1 week. Can I maximize it in setting things right? Which is the yoga bhavana. The yoga bhavana is set things right before you vacate. Set things, it's like you have been asked to vacate your house. Do you wait till the nth moment and make a mess? Or do you plan and vacate it in a way that you are comfortable, the owner is comfortable, and the next person is comfortable? See, the Atma is like that. The Atmas come into this body for a temporary time, having an experience, and then it's going to go on to its continuous experience. So I think here a lot of the philosophy, the psychology, and the spirituality of yoga is important. We call it yogic counseling, where you are enabling the person to understand a bigger picture of life. And another thing is important here is the presence. We had the palliative ward next to yoga therapy for a long time. And our students, I remember when Shwetika was there, the palliative was there. Our students, our therapists would go and spend time with people who would be dying in the next week, in the next month. And just being there with them gave them that sense that there are people with me in my last days. Rather than I am isolated. And biggest problem in COVID was that. People were dying without connection to anybody. People couldn't see their loved ones the body. That was very, very struggle. But so many people used to come to me and say, Dr. Ananda, my mother, my father, my grandmother, my aunt died last week. They were in palliative. And thank you for your people in yoga who would come and spend time, that they died in a better state of mind than they would have died otherwise. The human presence should never be discounted. Hand holding should never be discounted. Be there. You may not be able to save their life, but holding the hand may give them a sense of ease as they transition from this bodily experience into whatever they are to have. Humanistic approach to life, humanistic medicine, humanistic psychology. That's why I love Abraham Maslow and all the people who brought on humanistic psychology. And a psychologist in Norway, one of our students, Ingan, a professor of psychology, says the Gita tradition is a humanistic approach to yoga. And I said that is the best description I have ever heard of our tradition. It is a humanistic approach to yoga, not just technique based, not just concept based, not just philosophy based. It is a humanistic approach that looks at the human being and the human lived experience. So thank you for that question, and I hope something came out of that answer. Over to you, Sangeeta. Try it, time. Okay.
Because the two questions are by Dr. Gopinath.
Yeah.
So, in order to feel the tension in the body, we're going to go through a swift Marmanastanam Kriya. Generally, the Marmanastanam Kriya takes 20 to 30 minutes, but we'll just go through the body parts so that when we tense the body parts, we are already aware of them. Otherwise, most of us just tense the hands and the shoulders and have no awareness of the other parts. So, we'll go swiftly. So, take a deep breath in and then a deep breath out. We'll begin by becoming aware of the toes and the entire feet up to the ankles. Feel them alive and warm. Then become aware of the area between the ankles and the knees. Then between the knees and the hips. Become aware of the buttocks, the area of the perineum, the lower back, the entire wall of the abdominal muscles in the front, traveling up the area of the diaphragm, front, sides and back, up the dorsal in the back, shoulder blades, all the way up to the trapezius, and in the front and the area of the intercostal muscles, the ribs. Become aware of the area, the tender area of the heart, the lungs, the armpits. Become aware of the shoulder girdles and the collarbones in the front. Now become aware of the fingers of the hands, the entire hands, all the way up to the wrists. The area between the wrists and the elbows. and between the elbows and the shoulders, where the sensation of awareness joins the awareness of the shoulders as you begin to travel up, becoming aware of the neck, the cervical area, the throat, larynx, pharynx, vocal cords, oral cavity, ear cavity. Relax your tongue, your lips, and your cheeks. Become aware of your nostrils, your eyes, your eyebrows, the earlobes, the scalp, hairline, and the brow, and the eyebrows. So you can now open your eyes, and in the same sequence we're going to begin to tense. Tense your toes, your feet, the ankles, the shins and the calves, the thighs, the buttocks, traveling up, lower, middle and upper back, the tummy, the chest. Tense your hands with the fingers, the wrists, the arms. Tense, tense, calm up. Tense the neck. Tense your face, the jaw, the eyes, the eyebrow. Tense as much as you can. Take a deep breath in and release everything. Relax for a moment. Observe yourself. Again, toes, feet, ankles, shins and calves, thighs, buttocks, perineum, lower back, middle back, upper back, abdomen, chest, arms, armpits, fingers, wrists, up the arms, throat, neck, face, lips, eyes, forehead. Breathe in. Release. And relax one moment. Now you've understood the process, so let's go ahead and tense up. All the way up, 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 up. Face, breathe in. Big release. And take a moment. Allow the process of release and tension to manifest itself to you. Allow the teachings of Dr. Anandaji also to reveal themselves to you. It is okay to cough. It is okay to allow any drop of tear to come. And we'll do one more, and this time we'll allow our voice to come out. Because one thing that also is there is that in the past we had, women who, generally women actually, in many cultures, who cried. Their role was to cry at funerals and ceremonial rites of passages. But we don't much anymore. In Italy we don't do it anymore at all. So even the crying is very submissed, and so we want our voice to come out, not in a yelling, we're not going to yell, but as we release, we can go into ha, like that. We'll just do it 3 times, okay? So let's tense feet, calves, shins, knees, thighs, the torso, then the hands, the arms, the shoulders come up, the throat, face, breathe in. Very good. Breathe in. Tense up again. Release. And last one. And place your right hand on your heart and the left hand on your tummy. Place it around the navel. And comfort the body through the sparsha mudras. And we can remember the teachings that were shared this morning on the Shivoham, 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 Soham, Sat Chitanandam, Swarupoham, and also the young, the Bija mantra of the heart. And bring your hands together in Namaskaram. And let's rub them together. Place the palm of the hands over the eyes and open your eyes. Allowing the heat to soothe you. And then blinking the eyes, remove the hands. And place them over your heart. And we'll come back to Dr. Ananda ji, who has some other teachings to share.
Before we close today for the first part of the morning, one of the very important tools our Vedic culture has given us is the use of the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Now people often think, if I chant it, I won't die. If you chant it also, you will die. If you don't chant it also, you will die. Okay? That is the truth. But then why should I chant it? To get rid of the fear of death. You talked about that unknown and the known. The fear of death paralyzes us. Fear of death paralyzes us. In fact, in the lower animals, when fear comes in, they freeze. It is one of the psychological reactions to stress. Physiologically, we talk of fight and flight. Psychologically, freeze. You just don't know what to do because you're so dead scared. Getting rid of that, overcoming it, accepting and transcending it. Accepting mortality, just like the vine, vegetable or fruit is taken away when it is ripe. See, here we don't understand that mantra properly. It's not just taking away the cucumber from its vine, or the cucumber here, it's all vine vegetables, not plucking it at an inappropriate time. Letting it ripen and fall at its own. What are we saying? We are saying, may the process be as natural as possible. And when it is unnatural, when tragically we lose people, especially the younger people who have so much of potential. I talked to a friend of mine who recently talked of his son coming from Bangalore. He was working in Bangalore and he was coming to Delhi, and there was a road traffic accident. And nobody in that bus died except his son. This is tragedy. You have life, a person in the most productive period of their life has an accident and is quadriplegic. The best example, Superman. Christopher Reeve, who played the first Superman. The latest Superman has come out. I haven't yet watched it. I always loved Superman. I identified a lot with Superman. I don't wear my underwear outside, but I identified with Superman because he comes from another planet, and often I feel like an alien on this planet. Because sometimes things are just so weird, I'm like, maybe there's another planet and I made a mistake in landing here. There are times I feel like that. But that guy who played Superman, imagine this guy, I think 3 or 4 movies he played Superman, and he had a horse riding accident. Paralyzed below his neck. At the peak of his He would have made another 25 Superman movies for sure. When Tom Cruise can make so many Mission Impossible and still looks the same. Or so many Top Gun movies also. Imagine you're the peak, and how can you bring understanding to that tragedy? No amount of intellectual exercise can explain that tragedy. That's where one just has to let go and let be. Acceptance. In yoga it is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Have trust in the universe, that the universe knows something we don't know. Often in our culture, when a newborn baby dies, the mother's gone through 9 months, and especially if it's a precious pregnancy, when they haven't been able to have a child and they have a child, a small baby dies. Very difficult to console the parents, console the relatives, console the mother. But in our culture, what we say is that Atma was so close to Kaivalya, Mukti, Moksha, it just had to be born and it got rid of the karma and it has attained Mukti, Moksha. See, whether it is true or not, leave that out of the thing. What a beautiful explanation that the person could at least feel. That my baby that I lost is in a better place. It's part of a bigger scheme of things. See, this is where our culture had so much wisdom, and we were told, you are all imbeciles who know nothing. And we'll teach you what is civilization. And they gave us plastic. The worst thing that ever happened to India was plastic. Second worst is alcohol. Plastic, because we, in our ashram, even now in our madam on puja, today is Sunday, right now the Guru Puja will be finishing and they'll be sitting for prasadam. We'll sit down on the ground with banana leaf, put the prasadam, eat it. After we finish eating, you're not supposed to waste any prasadam, you have to eat it all. The leaf is put, if there is some food, it is put in the place. The cows which are there come and eat that leaf. Everything is biodegradable, everything is finished. No weight on the planet. No carbon footprint, zero carbon footprint. In fact, less than zero, because now that banana plant, that leaf also doesn't exist. So it's minus carbon footprint if you want to ask me that way. So what did we do? We were used to having on a banana leaf and throwing it out the window. Out the window, the cow ate it, no problem. Plastic came, what do? Still throw it out the window. And now the cow eats it and dies. See, the problem is we didn't change the way we approach it. That is why plastic. And same thing with alcohol. I live in a village in Tamil Nadu. I have seen the way it has destroyed lives and families. People were not ready for that type of alcohol at all. But anyway, that's a different story. How do you overcome the fear? The Mahamrityunjaya mantra. And I'll chant it a few times, and normally when we do this, you would have heard Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugundim Pushtivardhanam Urva Rukamiva Bandhanat Vrityur Mokshiya Mamratat. That is a common one. There is a personalization. Nowadays in your emails, if you want to send a bulk email but you want to personalize it, there are these brackets in which the name will come. So the letter that comes to you in email will say, Dear Dr. Ananda Balayogi, and then it is a common email, but I think it's for me. But it's not for me actually. That is in brackets. Our Vedic rishis had those brackets in this for personalization. They said, how do you personalize? You create a bracket. The first part of the bracket is Hrum Jum Saha. Hrum Jum Saha. So if Hrum Jum Saha is this part of the bracket, this becomes Saha Jum Hrum. You understand why I'm saying? It's like the brackets we use in software and for all our letters. They were personalizing. And in that, how do you personalize? They said there are 3 factors like Aadhaar card. The Vedic Aadhaar card was very simple. You need your nakshatra, you need your rasi, you need your nama. If you have these 3 things, you can personalize it. They were very, very clear. So they say, what is your nakshatra? What is your rasi? What is your nama? You have personalized the chant to that person. So what do they do? For example, Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugundim Pushtivardhanam, then Hrum Jum Saha. Now you put in the person's thing. For example, in my case, Kritiga Nachatre, Rishabha Rasi Sujat. I was born under Kritiga Nachatra, Rishabha Rasi, Ananda Balayogi Nama Desya. Now close the bracket, Saha Jum Hrum Urva Rukameva Bandhanat Vrityar Mukshya Mamratat. The genius of these, sorry for being a bit sacrilegious, these guys and girls. Rishikas were there, Rishi Patnis were there in our culture. So what I do is I help people personalize it. But then during COVID, I said there's so much of fear. We were under a fear pandemic along with the COVID pandemic. How to reassure people and move from bhaya to abhaya. From bhayam, which is fear, to abhayam, which is fearlessness. I said I will make it generic. So it is applicable to all. So what I do is I add the term sarva. Sarva means all. So the same thing I chant, but what I do is sarva nachatre, sarva rasi sujat, sarva nam desya, which means now it includes everyone, not just me. I think this is a very important change. Rather than thinking of me, you know the me, M-E, make it do Shirsasana. What do you get? W-E, we. So the yogis put the me upside down to make the we. That is how it changes. You change your whole perspective. And that is why Krishna says, what seems to be day to the common person is night to the yogi. What is night to the common person is beautiful. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami. The one who is in samyama. Okay. Ya nisha, night, darkness. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati samyami. Yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha Pashyato Muni. The Muni is the one who knows and keeps quiet. So I am not a Muni. I don't keep quiet. That is why Patanjali is Pravaram Muni Nam, because he just taught in short verses. He could have written 196 books. He doesn't know how to survive. 196 books and he just gives us 196 aphorisms. Okay, anyway. Trayambakam yajamahe sugundhim pushtivardhanam Hum jum saha sarvanachatre sarvarasi sujat sarvanam desya saha jum hrum urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mokshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugundhim pushtivardhanam Hum jum saha sarvanachatre sarvarasi sujat sarvanam desya saha jum hrum urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mokshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugundhim pushtivardhanam Hrum jum saha sarvanachatre sarvarasi sujat sarvanam desya saha jum hrum urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mokshiyamamritat. Om. This is a chant that you can be keeping going. I keep this going in my consciousness all the time. If you go and look at some of my YouTube videos made during COVID, this was a constant chant I used to do in the mornings for people. I did 108 days twice, 108 weeks. Now you ask me to do it, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to find time. And then I was just like doing it because I was like, people are out there, they are with fear, people are holed up in their rooms, not knowing what to do. It is our dharma to share, because sharing is caring. Sharing is
Caring.